Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next session of From Nothing, Lorna's story. And we are going to take up right where we left off. It is the evening. You've just had a conversation with Elise.
Yes.
And so, what is next for Lorna today?
Well, Lorna did sporadically ask a paladin on a date.
I recall.
Yep. So she said she'd meet him at 6, and it's like 5 now.
Yes.
I have an hour.
Okay, what do you do for an hour?
I promised Anscombe I was going to look through those memoirs, and see if I could find any mention of his great something grandfather. 3 greats.
Did he give you a name?
Yes, Gabriel Frost.
Okay. So is that what you're going to do for the next hour?
Yeah. In fact, I think so I don't lose track of time. I'm gonna go to my room, grab the memoirs, and then go to the Mary Guard and post up and read.
So you're going to the tavern first.
Yes, because I foresee me going, reading, and then losing track of time and being a complete asshole and standing up on accident.
Yeah, that's fair. I could see that happening too.
Wow, all right.
Okay, so you go to the tavern.
Mm-hmm. Who's me?
Here you are. You find a table by yourself. As you sit down, a remarkably buxom dwarven barmaid approaches. And she says, "Welcome to the Merry Guard. How can I help you? Can I get you something to drink?"
Yes. Um, Whatever you recommend.
"The house special's always nice.
Sounds good.
I'll be right back with that for you." And she leaves you alone.
I crack open my memoir and I'm gonna page through it, hoping to see anything fruitful.
Okay, you're looking for Gabriel Frost.
And I remember the details that Anscombe gave me were that he was a sorcerer, and he apparently lost his life defending a town of some sort in Ceres.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and roll me an investigation and a D100.
It's a 15 investigation. And a D100. 42.
Okay. Basically, the instant you crack open the book, a mug of what the barmaid describes as piercing wagon porter is set in front of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me know if there'll be anything else. She leaves
Of
you
course.
alone. Again.
Lorna will, as she cracks into the book, she'll crack into that too, because she has a date and she's never been on a date and she doesn't even know what she's doing. She doesn't even know why she asked him.
It is not extremely alcoholic. It has some buzz to it, but it is more sweet finished than anything else.
That's probably for the best, otherwise I'd be floppy.
Wouldn't win that. Now would we?
Mm-mm. Oh,
Okay,
bad
with
first
a
impression.
you begin to look through these memoirs. With a 15 and a 42, you discover a few things.
Yeah.
The War of the Dead, by description, was extremely dark. Many of these memoirs describe truly awful happenings. Events of undead crushing entire forces that allies of the individual writing this thought would be fine. Situations where it looked like the battles were going in the living's favor, but the problem is that as soon as the living fell, the undead would rise again. The numbers swelling rapidly. And there were many solutions to this that were tried in the field. And as you're reading these memoirs, you learn about a practice called neck staking.
Not staking.
Yes. Which is truly a horrible thing. Usually what one would do, as you read, a ranger or a bowman would ignite an arrow, and as soon as an ally went down, they'd put a burning arrow through their neck. Sometimes this destroyed the connection between the head and the body, preventing them from coming back as undead. It was quick, it was relatively efficient, and it was much faster than burning the bodies on a pyre.
Oh.
Unfortunately, it didn't always work. And sometimes undead that had been neck-staked, the arrows were still lit when they rose. And so they'd be swarmed by undead that had little torch lights gleaming from their hair and their neck. You lose track of time as you're reading about this. And suddenly, there is a knock on your table. Hello there!
Well, hey, has it been an hour already? Oh.
I may be a little bit early. I thought I might find us a good table, and here you are. So?
Well, I had some work to do and thought I might as well show up.
May I see what you're reading? You truly were engaged.
Sure, and she shows him the title, and it's like, it has the word blood in it, if I do recall. Oh, it doesn't look great. It's like Memoirs of War or something like
It's
that.
like Memoirs of the Blood War or something like that. It's
Yeah,
truly
yeah.
horrible. Stoic looks at it and says, uh-huh. Just some light reading, perhaps.
I found the title. It's Blood-Dimmed Records of the Fighter.
That's what it is, yeah.
Huh?
Stoic will pull the chair out. And as he sits down, that same barmaid comes by and he says, I'll have what she's having. And she, nods and leaves before she can say anything. And Stoic looks at you. You can see him on the map next to you. That is what he looks like. He is a tower of a Goliath. Only he's not wearing full plate. He's wearing what's basically traveling clothes right now.
It'd be a little excessive to show up in full plate to a
Yes.
tavern.
He also does not have his greatsword on his back.
Does he have any weapons at all? Does he look prepared?
I mean, he's wearing a belt. It looked like he probably had, a knife.
He doesn't strike me as the type that if he were caught unarmed that he couldn't defend himself.
No. You do also see that around his neck he's wearing an amulet. It is the shape of what looks like a snowflake, a six-sided one with a sun in the middle.
Do I know what that symbol is, though?
You can roll religion.
I'm trying to familiarize myself with that shit. 16?
She is a fairly common goddess. Breza.
Breza.
She's known as a benevolent, if a little bit wild, god of winter and summer.
I would point at it and say, that's Breza, right?
You have a good eye on you.
Sometimes. I'm actually trying recently to familiarize myself with the gods. I admit that I don't have a lot of knowledge on them, or maybe enough respect.
Well, you've already found the most important one. And he, gestures to his chest.
I think every paladin or cleric is predisposed to thinking that they've picked the best one, right?
Well, you see, with clerics, they choose their god. They worship them, they ask them for favors. With champions, such as myself, the god chooses you. And so Breza saw what I was worth and made me an offer I could not refuse.
I must admit, I don't know. I really don't know anything about holy people.
Well, do you know much about the gods?
No.
You're a wizard student, yes?
Yes.
Well, I mean, surely you've read books, hmm?
I have, so that's where my basic understanding comes from, but I will admit that I lack a healthy amount of respect for them that I'm working to rectify. I had a run-in recently with a god who wasn't satisfied with my lack of humility.
I imagine that did not go well.
No, it did not, and it was not a very kind god either.
So, that is why your visit to my classroom then, hmm?
Yes. And I will say I probably will need more help in the future because I think I left an impression on that god.
May I know which god it was?
Lorna will reach into her bag, actually, and pull out the burned symbol of Enosa and slide it over to him.
He looks down at it with raised eyebrows and he says, "You sure know how to pick them.
She was
I,
not pleased with me.
I don't think you could have picked a more vengeful one, honestly.
There's got to be more vengeful gods than her.
He raises an eyebrow at you.
I guess you would know, wouldn't you?
I might, yes. I mean, maybe Velisco, the curse bringer, you know.
Do I know? Do I know anything about Velisco?
Roll a religion check.
You said I got about 20 of the symbols when I was stuck in Enosa's void.
Right.
I would say probably not. I rolled a 10.
You've heard the name before. Velisco is kind of said as a swear word almost.
Oh. She shrugs. He sounds like a bad guy.
Yes, he is. Okay. Well, I'm not going to give you the full lecture or anything like that, but I will say, the difference is important. The gods are powerful, obviously, yes? Sometimes they decide that we, all of us little folk here on the world, are important to them, or they want us to do things. And they never expect us to do it for free. Unless they ask, in which case many times we will, because we are little people. But in the case of champions, in the case with me, they ask me to carry their virtues, and in return they grant me power. Except, it's not like with a cleric. A cleric, they must beseech their god for strength and magic every day. With me, I have been invested in by Breza herself, and so I carry that power in my hands every day. Should I break my oath, I will pay for it. But in the meantime, I benefit. So, it's helpful, it's very useful. I'm very good at, hitting things very hard. And also, giving things the proper judgment that Breza would ask that I do.
What happens if a god pays interest in you and you don't want it? You just have no interest, or maybe their ideals aren't your own.
That is a more sticky situation. So, if you don't want the interest of the god that has noticed you, you have a few choices. In most cases, you should probably change your mind.
You think I should go with it?
No, let me
Sorry,
clarify.
go ahead.
Don't jump the gate on me here. Okay. If you do not agree with a god that has decided that you are of interest to them, the best you can do, really all that you can do, is to look to another god to protect you from that one. Look to a god that is more aligned with your personal interests and beseech them to defend you. And B, do nothing. Weather the storm, as it were. Do your best to endure it, and eventually, if you are stubborn enough, there's not much a god can physically do to you here. Unless you really piss them off, they can have one of their followers come and kill you. Or, those sorts of things. But if the god is not that sort of god, which I will tell you, Inosa is, I would recommend, in my professional opinion, be careful. Take your time. Try and endure what it is that perhaps she's pressing upon you. And if that's not feasible, maybe look to another of the pantheon that you agree with.
See, the problem with that is, I've lived my life, and I know it's not a very long one, far away from the gods. I understand that they exist and they have powers, but I kind of always wanted to pay more attention to what I can do than what some great, lofty entity can do for me. Or so
Well,
relying on another god to defeat a god that's bothering me, it kind of defeats the purpose of being responsible for myself.
I hesitate to point out that I do not think this was burned when it was created. Hmm?
So you kind of put together why she's mad at me.
Yes, I think by your actions, you have maybe attracted the attention of a god. And so by those actions, you must deal with the consequence.
I'm not saying I won't deal with it. I'm just saying I'm reluctant to deal with it by invoking a different deity and getting them involved.
I understand, and you are welcome to try and endure it on your own, and who knows, maybe you will manage. I'm saying if you cannot, you should perhaps look into who else might be on your side.
I might have to swallow my pride, huh?
Yes.
I I did something nice for Magos once.
I don't know much about Magos. I understand he is a deity of magic.
That's why I kind of respected him, despite not having much respect for the gods. One in my wheelhouse, I can respect.
I will point out to you that not having respect for the gods is a bit like disrespecting fire. It does not matter if you respect it or not, it will hurt you.
Right.
They are a powerful entity in this world. And I did not know much about them when I was growing up. They didn't mean anything to me. My parents, they would touch the symbols before we left home. And they'd go to work, and I wouldn't worry about it. And then one day, Breza reaches out to me and gives me a vision. What am I going to do? Tell her no? I mean, I guess I could have, but it was a pretty appealing offer.
He saw something in you.
Yes.
See, the problem is, Reza sounds great, but if he knows that sees something in you, there's got to be something wrong with you.
I wouldn't say that's true. I don't know you. I can't make any assumptions. You seem nice enough. You certainly have a clean way of speaking. You sound, what's the word? Gelobigish. Courtly.
That's the way of putting it.
My father would say that you knew how to talk to those who thought themselves above others.
Yes.
My father did not have much patience for the nobility. Me and him...
Smart man.
I mean... don't tell him you said that, or he won't shut up about it. Anyway, look. I'm sorry you find yourself in this predicament. I mean, Inosa's not a pleasant goddess, but she is a powerful one. If she sees something in you, you might use that to your advantage.
That just sounds like digging myself even deeper.
Well, Lorna, if I remember that is your name.
Yes.
What is it that you want? Here's what I know about you. You are studying at the Merigard Academy, and you don't know much about the gods, and you seemed a little bit nervous speaking with my instructor.
She's really big.
Yes.
Well, so are you, but she's big in she's got like this presence.
She fills the room. Yes.
She does.
You are aware of her, whether you are looking or not.
I don't think anyone's directly asked me what I want since I got here. Or even before that. It was kind of... You were right when you said that I have courtly manners instilled in me. So there was always an expectation that whatever someone else wanted is what I would do. So I haven't really given it a lot of thought in what I want to do. Completely.
Perhaps it is time to think about it.
As good a time as any, especially before I graduate.
I mean, you have a year, yes? You are stuck here.
Ish.
Ish. How long have you
Unless
been here?
a month and some change.
Unless you quit.
No, unless I win the fall festival.
Ah, she has aspirations, she does. Okay.
Of course I do, I'm a wizard. If
Uh,
anything, there's ambition, even if it's sourceless or
I warn you,
directionless.
I'm not on your team, and so I will be your competition. And I am
I'm
pretty big competition.
big yes. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen you fight yet.
No, you have not.
And you haven't seen me fight.
No, I have not.
And you
But
haven't seen my team either, so.
I've seen a few of them.
You know who's on my team?
I'm pretty sure that that pink-haired fellow from Triss's class is one of them. And I'm pretty sure you have the Spitfire Sagona on your side.
So we haven't met, but you've heard of me.
It's a small school.
That's true.
Also, Sagona talks.
She does.
She's a
Both her
friend of
best
mine.
traits.
Yes.
That makes sense. It seems like the boundary between clerics and paladins is probably quite thin.
We train together sometimes. I do spend some time in Threat's classroom, learning some of the more complex ceremonies. It turns out Cressida does not have so much patience for some of those things, and it's just me. So she often tells me to just go talk to Threat about something.
Oh, right, you said learning ceremonies. I don't think Cress has ever performed a ceremony in her life. She doesn't even want a stationary altar.
That definitely does not seem her type. No, you are right on that. She seems. Most of my training occurs outside, so in fact, it was unusual that we'd be inside. So you were uniquely lucky in finding us indoors.
I was. Uh, and you said you spent time with Sagona, but I had no idea that you were best friends with Callie.
I mean, what?
She was my first friend when I started at the Mare Garden. I haven't seen you two together.
Callie
Granted,
has a big heart,
she
crammed
does.
in a little body. She is the sweetest person I know.
I would have said fiery first, then sweet.
Oh, she's all talk.
So is her snake.
Hmm. Even the snake is. She's all talk, really. If for example, okay, I had one difficult training session with Cressida, and I ran into Callie on my way to Treat's classroom to get patched up, and she literally, well, she offered her shoulder for me to lean on. It didn't really work out, but the thought was very sweet.
That's true.
She made
And
sure
if she had
I
a
made
spell
every
for it,
step
she
of
would
the
have.
way.
Yes, she would have absolutely helped you.
No, she made sure I got to that door safe and sound and watched and made sure treated me with respect, which is Treat. You know, a little short, brusque. It's fine. The point is, little Callie Toothspring is the sweetest person in this academy, at least in my opinion. And you can
Callie's
tell
from
her I
around
said
here.
that.
I will. Callie's from around here, I know that, but you don't sound like you're from around here, so I don't think you grew up together.
No, not at all. I'm from Fidi.
Another Tridonian.
What can I
Can't
say?
get rid of them.
It's something about not being in Trident anymore that brings us all over here. I've never been much of a sailor.
Which is funny, because you're from Trident.
Mm-hmm. I get that a lot. Where are you from?
You can't guess?
No. Which is why I've asked you. I mean, a vague guess might be...
I would just love just humor me. Just if you had put money on it, where would you say I was from?
Well, I'm not a gambling man. Let me roll for him.
You're not a gambling man. Insight check.
Okay. Go ahead and roll on insight.
Terrible. 10.
He's hard
not
to
a
read.
Gambling man. Yeah.
He can see. He like looks at you and scratches at his chin, and he says, "You are noble, or at least you are raised like one. Maybe KO.
I tried to tell someone I was from KO once, but they didn't believe me.
So you're not from KO.
I am not from KO.
But you tried to tell them you were.
Keep things interesting.
Okay. So am I not going to learn where you're actually from? Is that the
I'll
moral
tell
here?
you. I'll tell you. My family was originally from Candinos,
Oh,
but I was not raised there, so I've got nothing from that. I've heard that they're very unique in their traditions and the way they do things.
yes. They are culturally annoying.
But I wasn't raised there, and I don't know any of those traditions. I know of them, I don't know them.
Well, that is good. I don't know if we would. I think it'd be might be a little bit insufferable if you were.
No, I'm a different kind of insufferable. I was raised in Saris.
Well, from like the rich part of Saris, or from like the farmers part of Saris? Because I've
She
met.
just kind of raises an eyebrow at him.
Look, those who are from like the rich part of Saris, they think they're hot shit. They think they have all the best ideas. They know what they're talking about, and no one else does. It's very annoying.
She
Whereas,
just nods along.
okay, those from the farmer side of Saris, they are much, they're relaxed. They will swear at you before they even greet you. But they know their way around animals, and I'm getting the feeling this is not you. Okay.
No.
The rich part of Saris. Okay. Okay, that narrows it down a little bit. I'm not going to try to guess any further because, I mean, it's
That would take all
basically
the mystery out of this conversation.
agreed. And also, it's a huge fucking country.
It is.
So, as a wizard, does that mean you went to, like, what is it called? The big school.
Circle?
Yeah, that's
No.
the one.
I did not. I had family who went, but my father was very concerned about my education and who I was associating with, so I was very carefully homeschooled.
I see. My father was mostly interested that I learn how to trade gems.
That's not a bad way to make a living.
It is a boring way to make a living.
I don't think my father ever wanted me to make a living. He just knew I liked magic and saw that I learned it.
Well, are you good at it?
I hope so.
More than that, do you enjoy it?
Yes, more than anything.
So then you are here all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to learn everything you can from our Mr. Dragon upstairs.
Absolutely. I'm even excited to learn about things that aren't wizardry.
You've asked me a lot of questions about the gods, so I guess that totally fits in.
That's a new one.
I imagine so. You do not look nearly traumatized enough to have been dealing with an Osa for much more.
No, a very recent encounter, actually.
I have heard stories.
She's very pretty.
Oy. So you had a vision already.
I did.
Okay.
She kept me in a dream for what felt like days.
Do you want
She
to
was
talk about
trying
it?
Well, I think she was trying to teach me a lesson.
Did you learn anything?
More than I would have liked to.
Gods have a way of doing that.
I didn't think I could learn anything from an evil god, but anything worth learning. I mean, what could they teach you besides being terrible?
It is never so easy as evil and good.
I'm learning that, which I don't like either, because it challenges my worldview, and who wants that?
Do you know that one of the champions of Breza was responsible for drowning an entire city beneath a river?
I'm sure they had a good reason.
That's what I've heard too.
Was it a good reason? Do you know?
I know that they did so in order to preserve a lot of forest, a lot of natural land. I do not think this was a good reason. But I have my own disagreements with my own god. We can still get along, but Breza is renowned for being benevolent, and yet someone acting under her command ended up drowning thousands of people.
As opposed to ruining a swath of natural land.
Well, from what I understand, there was something important about that land. I don't know the whole story. and it's hard to make a decision without knowing the whole story. But at a glance, the drowning of thousands.
Seems pretty evil.
Again, that is the wrong word. It's not evil. Evil would be if that champion had done it because...
It was fun.
Exactly. I don't believe he did. She did. I don't know. The legend's not very clear. But when you look at things in black and white, good and bad, evil or not evil, it all becomes almost indecipherable. The reasons people do things, they don't make sense. Because if someone does things just to be good, well, I mean, then they don't really have a choice, now do they?
I guess not. Someone in my history did something very terrible. Someone in my family. And I always believed that it was evil. But recently I've realized that I don't know the whole story, like you said.
You can't. Unless you were there, unless you were that person and know what they were thinking.
Unless you were that person. Right.
Did I hit the note? Are you okay?
No, rather, I would like to learn. I'm still looking for that history. I'm trying to piece things together.
It sounds exhausting.
Yes, but luckily I'm good at it because I'm a wizard.
Or rather, you're a wizard because you're good at it.
Something like that.
I don't think by assigning the title of wizard someone becomes good at research.
I suppose you're right. Which came first, the wizard or the academia?
I was already pretty good at hitting things with a big sword before I was a champion, the Breza.
Right. I don't think I could become a champion of a no-so because I can't hit things.
I am... My skills are pretty limited, but there are champions who never hit anything with anything.
Can you be a champion without being a paladin or a cleric?
Maybe. I am not a font of information on that subject. I think by taking the title of champion, and you've been imbued with the divine magic of a god, you are accepting the mount of a paladin.
I suppose that makes sense. I had a conversation with Chris, and you reiterated that I have never seen a paladin. I haven't seen a lot of paladins, but I haven't seen any in the two that I've met that aren't big and strong and lift heavy thing and smash face.
I guarantee you've seen more paladins than you realize.
I don't know if that's ominous or not.
It's not at all. I just mean, not every paladin is me. I am the stereotype. You know, big guy, heavy armor, giant sword, the whack in the name of God. Yes. But there are many paladins who do not do it my way.
I see. I'm learning a lot, more than I thought I would, and different kinds of information than I expected ever since I joined the academy.
I will say this is not the subject I thought the date would be on.
Can I be honest with you?
I really hope so.
I've never been on a date.
Well, what do you do for fun?
She gestures to the conversation they've been having.
Okay, talk is good, yes. Learning is tiring, but sometimes it is nice, yes.
I don't think I've ever been tired about learning.
Okay.
Don't you find it exciting when you learn something new? Like you've put a new piece together in a puzzle.
Sure, yes.
I like puzzles too.
Okay. But what about things that are more entertaining for the spirit and not the mind?
She blinks. Do you have an example?
Do you dance?
I had a ballroom dance class when I was a child.
No. Oh, gods. The dance where it doesn't matter what people think when they see you.
No, never. In fact, all I learned about dancing was that it mattered how you looked and
How disappointing. Well, I'll tell you what, as soon as... I'm pretty sure the bard instructor's going to be in later tonight. As soon as she starts playing, you and I are going to dance, and we're not going to care what anybody else thinks. And if I see a proper step out of you, I'm going to step on your foot.
You'd break my foot.
Not on purpose.
You wouldn't break it on purpose, or you won't step on it on purpose? Because
Yeah,
I could
you have
just
to
step on it.
decide if I'm deceiving you or not right now.
You've got healing magic, right?
A little, yes.
And I've got a good pain threshold, and she gestures with her metal hand.
I did want to ask about that. What happened there? Was that a
Uh,
learning experiment?
I have an amazing track record with being disrespectful to people and things I shouldn't.
Oh,
Like you said about rich Ceresians or upper class Ceresians, they think that they know better than anybody else, and then when they learn, it hurts.
maybe I was a little more on the nose than I realized.
Hmm.
Okay.
I love learning lessons, just not the ones that hurt. But I will learn them anyways.
Does it? Can you feel through it? Can you tie your shoes? Like,
I guess I could feel through it. It just feels like my hand's asleep, like a dull sensation.
can I? Can I touch it?
Yeah. She'll hold her hand out,
He will.
wiggle her fingers.
He will reach out and gently grasp like a few of the fingers, and he will say, "I can feel them trying to move. That is very.
And the twitch.
That is unnerving."
Hmm. Brand new, actually. I just got it.
Uh,
I was casting magic through a stump for like 3 weeks.
you are the first person I've met to have a prosthetic.
Really?
Heater. I've known many sailors that are missing legs and arms and such.
But did they have one of these?
No, this is new to me. Usually they had
Ceresian
just.
tech at its finest.
Usually they just had a piece of wood that could move on its own.
Right, that would not have been suitable for my needs. In fact, I can cast magic through it.
I don't really understand how your magic works, but that is great. I'm happy for you.
Do I have any spells that would be fun and not painful?
Do you
She's
say
looking
that
through.
out loud?
Yeah, she's like, she pulls out her spell book, she pages through it looking for something that
Stoic
might
takes
be
a
enjoyable.
long drink.
Do you have anything magic on you?
Uh,
Or did you leave it all back at the academy?
I do have something. Why do you ask?
Because I can identify it, tell you exactly what it is,
Oh,
without you telling me.
okay. And he reaches onto his belt, and he sets a very nice-looking dagger in a sheath on the table.
Okay. She'll open her spellbook to her identify page, and she'll begin to ritually cast identify. And she's going to be really theatrical about it. Like, she's going to put more flourish to her somatic gestures than she definitely needs to.
You learn. Well, okay, roll a performance, I guess, as you're trying to impress
Yeah.
Stoic.
Really good. 21.
He
And
watches.
it's cool because the Banasite blue lines in the fake hand light up, and she like, the weave that she plays with her fingers is her signature kind of gold yellow color.
Okay. Stoic watches raptly and seems impressed by this ritual.
Hmm.
And every once in a while he says, "Oh, what is that noise? Does it always do that?" After the ritual is completed, you learn it is a dagger of warning.
She basically like a textbook lists off all of the details of the warning spell that's imbued within it.
Stoic nods and he says, "I've never had it so clearly explained to me before. It was a gift.
Very useful.
It was a gift from my uncle." And he takes the dagger back.
He must have really cared about you.
"Yes, I think so." He kind of tucks the dagger back into his belt and he says, "Does it always have so... I guess when I perform magic..." He like grasps the amulet and he casts guidance on you. And for that, he basically just reaches out and touches your arm and there's like a glow. And the glow is brief, but it's like if you imagine what it looks like when the sun passes behind a wintry cloud, almost yellow light turning to white. That glow flows from beneath his fingertips, and then onto your arm where he touches you, and you feel empowered briefly. That is mine. It is much more subtle. It is quicker, I guess.
Subtle and wizardry are not often in the same realm. They can be, but why would you be subtle when you can show everyone how powerful you are?
I suppose that is a good point.
I mean, half of it is giving the impression that you can level the earth and draw the power of lightning from the sky. Because we're squishy, we're not really built to take hits. If you give this perspective of being imbued with the weave itself, people are less likely to fuck with you.
That is... It is a bit like a wolf making itself look bigger. I understand where you're coming from. I understand the need for it.
There's subtle magic too. That's not really my brand of casting. And I'm sure you've seen Callie.
Yes. Yes, I have.
I'm sure you've lost an eyebrow or two.
Is it that obvious? And he kind of like rubs at his brow.
No, I just am familiar with her type of explosive prowess.
Yes, she's very much the loud sort of magic caster.
Exactly.
No, I suppose when I think of magic, I think of the sort of things that I saw where I was growing up. It was all practical magic. The sort of things that shape the walls of the mountain or affect the weather so ships can move smoothly. And then subtle magics, but they were big in impact. You know? You wouldn't know they were happening. You just accepted that those things were happening and someone was doing that. And then there's magic that actually has almost a showmanship to it. And it reminds me of how you learned to dance so that other people see it.
Interestingly, I think you're making a good point. The magic that distracts you, or the dance that distracts you, might keep you from noticing something that's happening right next to you. And she's actually gonna, with her metal hand under the table, she's gonna cast Mage Hand, and she's gonna tweak his ear.
Okay. I see your point. He like swats the mage hand away.
Now imagine if I'd given a knife to that Mage Hand.
No offense. From what I remember from what Callie told me, I don't think that knife would have had any power to it.
No, it's about 5 to 10 pounds of force. So, yeah, I would have given you a nasty paper cut, though.
She lied to me. She said it was 15.
Don't tell her I told you the truth.
Okay.
A slightly worse paper cut.
Yes. No, and as you say that, Tally Soothsinger takes the stage.
Yes.
And starts playing music. And Stoic looks up and says, I told you. And it is now we make our performance.
Without caring what anyone thinks.
Not a lick. May I have this dance, Lorna?
She will place her special hand in his and stand up.
Okay. As you stand up and you go to the middle of the dance floor, quote unquote, Tally begins to play. Now, do you do what Stoic said and try to dance without dancing one of the ones you've learned?
Can I make a wisdom save to see if she can fight her innate urge to put on, to be respectable, to be like as acceptable by eyes as possible?
Yes, go ahead.
DC, what, 15?
This is up to you what that DC is.
I think a 15 is reasonable for her to be able to let loose.
Go for it.
She does it. 18.
Okay, roll me your performance.
She loosens her posture, which she is very instilled in her. performance.
And I will roll one for Stoic.
13. She is unfamiliar doing what feels natural as opposed to doing a specific set of instructions.
Stoic watches as you let the music that Tally is playing flow through you, and you dance a more embarrassing but natural dance. And he laughs and he smiles and he begins to dance something that is just nonsense. Basically just like stomping and jumping along in rhythm with the music. He actually rolled really well on performance. He rolled like a 19. So he is perfectly in rhythm, and it is almost like a charisma that flows off him that you pick up and you begin to match pace with him in this ridiculous impromptu basically jump dance as you're going
You can't
around the
help
dance
but
floor.
enjoy it
Yeah.
because of his sheer charisma.
You have fun.
Oh,
You have more fun than you've had at dancing in a long time.
probably in a long time because it's been a hellish couple of weeks.
Yeah. With Stoic's insane constitution, he does not tire for like any of Tally's songs. So he's not going to quit. So how many songs would Lorna dance through, do you think?
I'm going to make a constitution save.
Okay.
12. A middling. Maybe half
So like
of them.
okay. So like 4 songs in, you're winded, and you basically you like call a time. And still like laughs and pulls you
I
back
just
over
need
to the
like
table.
maybe another drink. And to sit down.
That's fair. We need to order dinner after all. This is a date, yes?
I don't know.
That is what you do at a date. Take my word for it. And he waves
Okay.
the barmaid over.
Can you pause real quick?
Yes. As the barmaid comes back after Stoic had waved them over, Stoic says, "I think we would like something for dinner. What is good today?" And the barmaid looks between the two of you, and she is going to roll. She says, "The deep fried onion rings are on special today, if you'd like that for a starter. And then the blackened steak is our special, as always."
Sounds good to me.
Yes, 2 of both, if you don't mind." And the barmaid nods and scurries off. So, if you want to keep having a conversation with Stoic, you absolutely can. Or we can jump ahead a little bit.
I think I'm satisfied with the good conversation they've had.
Okay.
Just keep enjoying themselves this evening.
Why don't you roll a charisma check?
Oh boy. Pretty good. Dirty 20. I'm very charismatic.
And I will roll
Even
one
when I
for
can't
Stoic.
dance very well.
Stoic rolled a 23.
Dang. Just 2 hot people.
You have enjoyable conversation. Stoic is easy to talk to. He has a good sense of humor. He makes fun of himself a lot. He jabs at you, but not in any way that is actually hurtful. Just in ways that makes you think a little bit.
Yeah. I think she appreciates that.
As disarming as he can be, your evening passes by quickly. And as you eat... Excuse me.
Let's see.
As you eat, you find that the meal is delicious. The onion rings and the blackened steak both go down very easily. And I will roll to see how well the kicks did.
Give me some temp HP.
11 temporary hit points.
Dang. Those are some good onion rings.
Yeah,
Yum yum.
they're crispy and delicious, and everything goes down smooth. Before long, it's getting late. And Stoic and you both decide it's probably time to start calling it an evening.
Mm-hmm.
As Stoic stands and helps you up from the table and begins walking you out, he says, I'm not going to lie, this impromptu date, I didn't know what to expect, but I've had a good time.
I'm glad my impulse control ended up having a good evening for both of us. Or, sorry, my lack of impulse control.
Well, I would be more than willing to do so again if you were so inclined.
I'll let you know.
He nods, and then he kind of kneels down and kisses your hand and says,
Ooh.
I hope you have a pleasant night, Lorna.
I hope you do too, Stoic.
He smiles, and then as you arrive at the Maryguard Academy, he bids you a good night.
And I go to Chris. Because she promised to give me a nightcap of protection against Inosa.
As you stop in, she is basically just what looks like she's preparing for the next day. And as you enter, she says, Hey, you showed up.
I did. And I brought something with me.
Okay.
She had decided during her conversation with Stoic that whatever Inosa was promising to her with a favor, she wasn't really interested in. So she procures the symbol of Inosa that was left by her bedside table.
Okay. And she offers
She
it
had
to Chris.
briefly considered keeping it just to see what would happen, but she's not willing to tempt fate like that.
Okay. So as you hold out the symbol to Cress, she looks down at it and she says, Huh. I see. That's the thorn in the paw, as they say.
Yes.
All right, let me get it. And she reaches out for it.
You were?
She grasps it and looks at it. I'll deal with this in a minute. She tucks it into a bag, and then she grasps the holy symbol of the hammer around her neck, and she presses a hand on your shoulder. And all she says is, Viella guides us all. Be safe under her watch. And you feel like another hand is on your other shoulder. And then bolstered emotionally, as if you've been encouraged, but no one has said the words that makes you feel that way. You feel emotionally fortified. Cress says, You have a good night, Lorna.
You too. And thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Don't piss off any more gods.
I'm learning rapidly not to do that.
Yeah, you look like a quick learner.
One of my best traits. Thank you again.
Good night.
She will depart and actually go to sleep.
Okay.
Without fear for once.
For once.
For once.
As you lay down, I need you to roll me a wisdom saving throw.
Oh, I saw it teeter from a 2 to an 18. 23.
You go to sleep pleasantly.
That time.
There is no worry. There is no threat of Inosa appearing up again. At least not in your mind. And as you settle in, your eyes close, the knowledge that Requiem is right there with you, and you go to sleep. The sleep that takes you is heavy, restful. It is powerful, almost. As you awaken, you realize you are not awakened into the real world. You awaken, and you see a familiar face right over you.
Oh.
Wizened, with a medley of scars that dapple the brow. You remember when those scars were made. The lash that overreached. A whip, breaking the flesh all around the man's left eye. Every time you see those scars, You feel the welling of anger in your chest. The rage that you felt at the incompetence of the slave keeper. Only a fool blemishes worthy slaves, and you made sure that he had paid for his mistake. As that anger turns to pride as how you handled that situation, your memory of it turns to fog. But it is cleared as you look upon the face looking down at you. Calm. Always calm, with gentle eyes the blue of a dark sapphire, and the faint gray whiskering throughout the shoulder-length auburn hair. His lips narrow, but always tweaked in a small smile, as if he's always liked what he could see, and he's always looking at you. Looking at you with those gentle eyes. And as you look upon them again, the swirling warmth and energy, love, wells up within you. Affection. And it is genuine. I'm sorry, love. Things are a little different now. It will take some getting used to, absolutely. And you'll have no claim back there. But this means you can start anew. His warm hand grasps yours, gently lifting it. You feel the prickle of pine boughs as they drop, having pressed into your underarm. You see your hand held in his, and its color surprises you. It's warm, almost the red of finely burnished wood in the lantern light. Tan. And against his pale skin, the contrast is sharp, and you cannot help but feel fear well up within your throat. I know, he says, before you can voice any concerns. It's not perfect. He reaches forward, his other hand gently pressing to your cheek. Nothing can be perfect, not twice. It all pales when I look at you. Everything was worth it now. And as he pulls away, you see beyond him. The limbs are low. Green, rich tree stands above you, and it warmly shines the flickering lantern light around the small nook you lay within. The brush and branches are close, as if the clearing that you're in was shaped into a room. It smells beautiful here, and the clean air is so heavy on your lungs. There's no hint of dust nor grit, as if you were expecting it. It's pure and fresh, so clean that it almost makes you want to cough. As you look around and you breathe, the sound of a cup is filled. And as you sit up, taking in your surroundings, you see nearby a leather pack is open. Spilling from within are silks and velvets of purple and red and black and silver. Rich and well-made garments. Suddenly, the man leans back into view. I know, it would be nice to wear them again, but I fear that would be too obvious. I figure we find the nearest village, and we trade them for something common. Here, a tea of the Stillen. It will help calm the nerves. A clay mug is pressed into your hands, warm and smelling of spring flowers. What do you do?
I take it and take a drink because he suggested it.
It goes
because
easy.
I am frazzled because I don't know what's happening.
It tastes light. More of hot water than anything else, but the herbs are almost like a light note on your tongue. And as it flows down your throat, you can feel almost as though it's the first thing you've drank ever. You feel as that hot water crashes down into your stomach, and it is revitalizing.
What happened?
You say that?
Yeah.
Oh, it all went according to plan. Everything went fine, honestly. I'm a little suspicious as to how smooth it went. I thought for sure Gullen would have found it.
Gone.
Gullen. You know, your brother. Are you alright?
I'm getting my bearings.
He reaches over, and suddenly you feel his hand press onto your forehead. I realize it might be a lot to take in, but take it slow. Breathe. What's your name? Do you remember your name? Roll me a wisdom saving throw.
Come on, Lorna. 16? No?
No. It's a fog. It's a painful fog. You feel a headache come on as you try and say what your name is.
You tell me it?
He looks at you and you can see his eyes turn sad. Oh. That might be for the better, honestly. Look. You said it would be a fresh start. And it's as fresh as it can be. But I can't have anything to do with what it was. With what you left behind. Or they'll find you. And it'll be over again. And they'll find me. And I don't think there's any saving me a second time. Look. My sister, before I was caught, they killed her. She was going to have a daughter. And I thought it was a pretty name. Do you remember?
Do I?
Roll me a wisdom save.
18.
That is successful. Oh my god.
It's the sound of my memories coming
Yes,
back.
that is the sound of your memories. No, the name. You remember it vividly. The talk of the child that was never born. The name that you thought was beautiful, that you would take in your new identity. Adora Nightingale.
Oh no! So I say, Adora.
He smiles a small, soft smile. He looks almost relieved. And he nods. He reaches out again and touches your cheek and he says, "It's like she has a second chance at life. But now we be free."
We?
Of course. You'd think I'd leave you?
No.
You got me out of that mess. And look up.
I do.
You said you always wanted to see it. He points, and you see the brilliant, beautiful sky. Stars dappling between the moon, full, glowing in white. It's the sky.
I've never seen the sky.
He looks at you and he furrows his brow, and you feel suddenly a powerful headache take over. And you are suddenly in no longer...
No! I didn't get to ask him his name!
You are suddenly no longer in that strange dream, and you find yourself in Lily's forest. You see that she is seated against a tree. She's looking at you, tears streaming down her face.
Who was that?
She shakes her head, puts her elbows on top of her knees, and sets her forehead on them. You can hear her quietly crying.
You can't not tell me. If you remember, I need to know, please.
Hang on. Through shuddering breaths, you hear one word. Malcolm.
Malcolm. What happened to him?
She seems to tighten up, recoiling further into this feeble position that she hides herself in. The crying getting a little louder. Only, it's not just her. You feel tears begin to flow. You feel anguish. But it's weird because it doesn't belong to you. You feel the pain creeping up your throat. As if you've lost something. Something extremely important to you. And you'll never find it again. You know that it's gone forever. And you can't help but grieve for whatever it was, and you can't even place it. All you feel is pain. Only it's the ghost of pain. Almost as though the memory of your fingertips you no longer feel, but it's the emotions that are no longer yours.
I don't know what to do, Lily. Why does this hurt you so much?
She shakes her head against her forearms, and she looks up at you again, her eyes flowing freely. And she screams, "I can't remember."
Do you want to remember?
I don't know.
I do. He's not gone unless you forget about him completely.
She drops her head down onto her knees, wrapping her hands around the back of her head, as if trying to isolate everything away from her.
You can't run from this. I won't let you.
She doesn't reply.
Lorna will crawl over to her,
Okay.
take her by the shoulders, and say, "Please remember. Please remember. Don't stop trying to remember."
I can't. I'm trying and I can't.
Don't stop. I remember his face now. And his name.
As you sit there next to this, well, the form of yourself in true anguish, the air gets colder. much colder. I need you to make another wisdom save. You are immediately shunted
jeez.
out.
Okay.
You surge awake. It is still dark outside. Requiem is standing over you, looking down at you with, well, it's hard to tell, but you're pretty sure concern on his face. Lorna.
Rec.
Are you here? Are you awake?
Yes. What happened?
You were... Your spirit was attacking the other.
Mine? Whose?
Yours, the one that is normally awake, was larger. And it was surrounding the other. It looked like you were crushing it.
I didn't want to do that. Fuck. She's gonna reach over the side of her bed to dig in her bag and pull out her journal. And page it open to her timeline because she's been collecting a timeline of history. She finds the spot that says Nightingale's rebirth. 5796. What is that? Adora Nightingale? Is that my last name? So it was my rebirth? But I was Adora before then. So what does that mean? And I had a brother? I've never had a brother. In any lifetime. Was this my first? That doesn't make sense. And she's just writing notes as she's thinking aloud.
Sure.
And it was Malcolm. He was a slave, but wasn't anymore. Fuck. And Lily won't talk to me, so I can't put this together. Oh. She, like, sits up suddenly. What time do I think it is?
Like 3 in the morning.
Gonna grab her bag and stuff her journal back into it and says, Requiem, come with me.
Of course. And he hops off the bed.
She's going to scurry to Tabernac's library.
Okay. As you head to Tabernac's classroom, let me activate that.
Whee.
You move past the automated suits of armor that patrol the halls of the Merryguard Academy at night. As you climb the tower and you enter Tabernac's classroom, you hear the sounds of Tabernac sleeping.
Yeah, it's 3 in the morning. She's going to go to his stage.
Okay, are you trying to be quiet?
No.
As you're climbing down the stairs, one massive dragon eye just... Yes, Lorna?
I'm sorry, sir.
What is it?
I had a very troubling dream, and I had an idea, and I wanted to ask you, and I realize now that it's 3 in the morning, and I'm very sorry.
He kind of like pulls himself up, one claw like rubbing at his face, and he says, "Very well, Lorna, what is your trouble.
I have a question of a spell.
Hmm.
I imagine you know the spell legend lore.
Yes, I am familiar with it. I've used it many times. It is a
Can you
little bit
cast it?
expensive, but
You can cast it.
yes.
Is it only on objects?
Hold on. He says, no, it can be of a person, a place, or an object. Objects are the most reliable, as it can show you its creation, whereas if it's a place, or if it's a person, the spell reveals the known lore of that thing, things that are not hidden behind magical barriers.
What if a person was created?
What do you mean?
Could you cast legend lore on me?
I don't know. Probably.
I know you said it was expensive, but I would really like you to do so.
Yeah, it's okay. May I ask why?
I want to know how I was created.
Do you happen to have 350 gold pieces worth of incense?
No.
I
Right, an
don't
IOU?
either. I recently used what I had on a large block of stone that happened to be from an historic structure in KO.
As far as the merit of interesting lore, I think you would enjoy what you find, but I would really like to know as well. Is there anything I can do?
If you can acquire 250 gold worth of incense, I can.
250?
Yes. As well as 100 gold worth of ivory. No, I'm sorry. I can't do math. 200 gold worth of ivory. I can handle the rest.
I can do that. If I can go into town, I can do that.
You may have to wait for a trader. I somehow doubt old glass happens to have that much ivory on hand.
Did you have the ability to transmute something into ivory?
You know that's not how this works.
I'm still learning.
Transmutation cannot be used to create a spell component worth more than 5 gold pieces.
Okay.
If this is something you wish to do, Lorna, I am happy to help you work toward it. But it is not something I have the capability of doing today.
I understand. If I get the components, then.
If you get the components, I will cast the spell and allow you to see what I learn.
You can do that?
Yes.
I have some memory blocks. I don't know if I'm unwilling to remember or not, but there are things I want answers to.
I warn you, legend lore does not work on people quite the same way it does with a created item.
At one point, I was a created item, so I thought maybe it might be different.
As an individual with a soul bound to it, there are protections that this universe places on every living being.
Even if it has my consent?
It's not how it works. All I'm saying is, whatever it is you hope to learn, I hope you are not disappointed by what you actually find.
If it's anything more than I already have, I'll think it's worth it.
Then it sounds like you have a goal.
200 gold's worth of ivory.
And?
150 worth of incense.
250 worth of incense.
Oh. Great. That's more than I have currently, but...
This is an expensive spell, Lorna.
You weren't kidding.
No.
Shit. I need to raise some gold pieces.
Yes, you do. You see, if you were a contractor, we could requisition this as a funded project.
Everything I want to do, it seems I need to be a contractor for, but I want to do these things now.
Well, your impatience is not the Marigot Academy's problem.
I know.
He just looks at you. You know, but are you willing to accept that?
The problem. Shit. Do you remember when we talked about the Nightingale's rebirth?
Yes.
An explosion of magic via Mythalar?
Yes. It is rare that a spell be created with so much strength that it be written down in the magical histories of the world. But in this case it was.
How do you think I could go about learning more about it? I'm grasping at straws, Tabernacle.
To learn what the Nightingale's rebirth was, you would have to... well, you would need to find part of whatever it was that first cast the spell, whether it be a component or part of, well, the ritual circle. I imagine it was likely a ritual spell to be powerful enough to make an imprint. You see, the issue is I am surmising from what I don't know either.
I have memories of a table. With
A table?
Circle on it.
Well,
But it
don't
wasn't
stop
finished.
there. Okay.
It wasn't, at least, I don't know if this had anything to do with the Nightingale's rebirth, but I know it's important. It's a table with a circle on it, and it wasn't finished in time. Before something happened.
Could you read the table? The runes on it? Could you understand them?
I think parts of it, I could try to replicate it.
Yes. If you can try to replicate it, or if you could somehow drum up that dream again. Have you learned the spell Minor Illusion or Silent Image?
No.
Well, then I know what we're doing this week.
That would help.
Yes. First...
More reliably than me drawing it?
Well, if you don't have the arcane knowledge to draw it, you don't have the arcane knowledge to illuse it either. If you could draw it, I would ask that you do your best. But without the training and the understanding of those arcane runes, you will find those parts of the drawing to be impossible to translate.
If I had that dream again, could you see it?
Unless, well, you would have to be asleep, and you'd have to grant me, basically free reign.
I could do the sleep part. I don't know about the free reign part.
It would be invasive. And I would say we should avoid that. Looking into someone else's dreams is never good for the receiver.
See.
You are familiar with the Detect Thoughts spell, yes?
Vaguely. You use it sometimes to go into my head.
He, closes his eyes for a moment and says,
That's different.
I am blessed and cursed to always detect thoughts within my lair. Whether I want to or not.
Oh, it's your lair.
Yes.
Okay, I just thought you could do that naturally.
I can, but in here, there's no off switch. It is
So if I was
so
just
I
sleeping
can,
in here, you could hear my thoughts anyways.
but I could not see your dreams.
That's true. Magic is very complicated.
Were I to witness your dreams, I would have to astral project into the mindscape that is your thoughts.
Oof, that would be something.
It would be dangerous.
Dangerous.
Your mind would then be responsible for my soul's explorations. And I am a bit larger than you.
But there's a lot of soul in there.
What does that mean?
I'm not really 100% sure myself.
Do your best. As if this matters.
There's more than one soul in here? She kind of thumps herself on the chest.
Then I will absolutely not astral project into your mind.
Alright, I don't really know how she would react. Because if I let you, I don't know how happy she would feel about it. Especially because you ousted her from the Wizarding Circle a while ago, and I don't know how she feels about that.
I would be more worried about your soul being rended apart.
Mine?
Yes.
Why would mine be rended?
Because if it is already compromised with another soul, and a third tried to occupy the same space, you think this is wise?
I'm not really an expert on the area.
You
I do
are
know my soul's
smarter
bigger
than
than
this.
hers.
You are smarter than this, Lorna.
I'm really desperate.
I will not risk destroying your soul for a look at your dreams.
Fair enough. I can respect that. I would really like to go back to the Arcanium.
I see.
But it's a ways away.
It is a few days, yes.
Do you think there's any way I can arrange that with the Academy, part of an agency? Like if they have one that's going that way, I can volunteer myself.
I can keep an eye out for a free agency that would bring you near there. How about that?
That would help.
I cannot promise it would happen today or tomorrow.
I understand that, and I need to work up some money for spell components.
Yes. But I will make a note that you wish to visit Augur City.
Okay, that's something. Sorry I woke you up.
Is there anything else, Lorna?
There's always something else, but I'm satisfied. No, I'm not satisfied, but I've tackled what I wanted to, at least for now. Sorry about all of this.
You are a troubled young woman, and I understand
Yes.
you require some help. I am willing to help you within what grounds I can. I am going to go back to sleep.
That's fair.
You
Sorry.
should do the same.
Yes.
He looks at you, waiting to see if you mean it.
And she begins climbing the stairs back up out of the stage area.
I will see you in a few hours.
Of course.
And you hear Tabernacle just kind of and like curl up on his stage again. And as you head back to your room, that is where we are going to stop tonight's session.
Man. What the fuck? Who's Malcolm? Wait, so you said when I looked at my hand it looked different when I was in that dream?
It was tan. It was the color of your skin.
That's not weird or different. Or is that different from what that person in that dream thought? So like Lorna's skin tone is different from that person. I know that doesn't make any sense.
In that dream, you perceived it as alarming.
Okay, but that's Lorna's normal skin tone.
Yes.
So it's different from whoever that person was.
Sure.
What?
Thank you all for watching. I hope you had a good time.
What's that? What's
I
going
look
on
forward
here?
to seeing you all next week. We love you.
No.
Bye-bye.